Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad Show, starting now.
And would you look at that, the Houston Texans right back in the AFC South race with a victory over the Indianapolis Colts today on the road, doing it with a little bit of controversy thanks to the refs, with some good clutch plays and big moments when they needed it, and the defense stepping up when they needed it, as they've gotten all season long. Hello and welcome to the Squad Show today. Michael Connor, former Texans offensive lineman Wade Smith, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman, who hosts the Locked On Daily podcast here for your Houston Texans. We're with you for an hour breaking down the Texans' win over the Colts. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, guys, we'll get to the referee stuff because that's going to be something I think is going to have some legs. But just first of all, is this as big as it? I mean, obviously, this is as big as it gets for this football team. They are rolling with momentum now. They've won, 4 games in a row. They've just completely turned things around from that 0-3 start. Are you back in the believer's seat that they can pull this thing off after the victory over the Colts today, Wade?
Hey, 4 weeks ago, the talk was like, hey, the AFC South is out of reach. The Colts are far and away going to win the division. You're just hoping and praying that you can string something together to where you get a playoff spot. Now the AFC South is wide open, and add on to that, the AFC is wide open, and add on that, the NFL is wide open right now. The Chicago Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. I'm gonna say that.
That's so crazy.
Chicago Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. So that tells me that anybody can win it. The Texans are hot right now. They played well enough to win. I won't say they played great, but they played well enough to get a win on the road. And it was a big win. It was a lot of answers to, the Colts making plays and then the Texans answering back. And they came out with a big road win. The AFC South is right back into play. You definitely have to believe at this point, because if you went on the road and beat a team like that, when they come into your place, it's going to be that much more difficult for them. And if you win that game, now you're back tied with them when you're talking about the win-loss column, and you have the tiebreaker because, you're up 2-0. So I would just say, yeah, definitely you have to believe right now. I believe right now, and I'm excited about what's to come for the Houston Texans.
John, how we feeling?
I feel like they got a shot. Right now, Jacksonville is at 3 in terms of the AFC rankings. They lead the AFC South. Indy is at 5. Houston is at 8. Of course, they had a tiebreaker over Buffalo. They play LA to close out the year. This first game against Indy was one of 2 extremely important games for them to stay in this playoff race. They got KC next, who is sitting at 9, so they're on their heels. This team is led by a ferocious, tenacious, disruptive defense. And I think we saw it today. You saw a little bit of the difference between Stroud and Mills. And I think I got to go back and look at the tape a little bit more. But defensively, it feels like just give us a lead and we'll work with it. We'll make sure that we are able to win the game. And so because of that defense, and because I thought the offensive line in terms of pass blocking was good, we saw CJ Stroud with a lot of time out there. They're going to give themselves every opportunity to make this push. So I think that they will have an opportunity to win the AFC South. But whether it's a division or whether it's just squeaking in, either one I think is extremely commendable considering where they started the year off. They got a shot. Today was a weird game. The referees helped. Things was going their way. Texans in the outfield. Weird game. They pulled it out.
Stan, I know the people are going to want to hear from you. Your thoughts on where the Texans are at right now.
Winners of 7 of their last 9. You mentioned the 4-game win streak, 3 with obviously the backup. I thought that they've done everything that can reasonably be expected to put themselves in position. They're not out of the woods just yet, but they're in the best possible position that they can be, given how things started in the month of September, and that should be commended. It's a lot of hard work. My hat's off to D'Amico and the rest of that defensive and that offensive staff, just doing enough. And we said this, and my concern, and the reason I didn't pick the Texans today, is really threefold. First, I don't trust this team on the road in the D'Amico Ryans era. Second, I don't trust D'Amico Ryans with more than a week to prepare. The record will reflect that. With today's win, I think he's hovering at something like 4-4. So he's hovering right about 500. I'd like to see that be a little bit. But then the other thing is, right, how much rust? They answered all those questions today. If I had to use a word, guys, to describe this game for me, it would be clunky. It just wasn't a clean game. We'll talk more about penalties and red zone. But the bottom line is, and they got some help, the officials are a piece of it, but the defense and being disruptive was a big piece of the reason why, and largely the reason why, even with CJ turnover, they were able to win that game today. So hats off to D'Amico and the players for putting themselves in position.
I mean, I don't want to go complete homer on this, but everybody else in the conference at least has to be puckering a little bit, knowing that this team has got it rolling the way they are with the defense that they have. Correct?
Yeah, Chris Canty picked them to be in their power rankings last week, NFL power rankings on ESPN First Take. Chris Canty had Houston at 5, and this was, I think they were the 9th seed at that time. At the time of this airing, so I think the two most dangerous teams in the NFL both reside in Texas. Dallas in the NFC, Houston in the AFC. And if I'm being fair, Houston, during this win streak, they've showed to be able to win games, of course, defensively, in spite of their own wrongdoing. I mean, today you look at the penalties, that crept up back on them. Stan talked about 2 of 5 in the red zone. They get down to the red zone, and it's just a series of confusion. But again, they're able to win in spite of. And when you have teams like that, that's extremely dangerous because they just live off confidence. No matter what you throw out at us, we're able to win. And Aziz went down, but he missed a couple of plays, but he came back. He is truly the heart and soul of their defense. And so Houston is extremely dangerous right now. If they can continue to build on this, and they have been 4 games in a row, I am curious to see, of course, what the end of the year look like for them. And how they take that into the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to be afraid of the Houston Texans when you look at the fact that they're getting healthy on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Petrie came back today, and I thought he played very well. I thought he was himself. It was like he didn't miss any time out there. He got some PBUs. He rushed the quarterback. He just was all over the place like he's always been all over the place. And so when you add a piece like that back to this defense, opponents have problems. They forced the Indianapolis Colts to make some spectacular, really big time plays to move the ball down the field. Like Josh Downs made some great catches, some highlight reel catches in order to convert on 3rd and longs and to keep the chains moving. Just for the most part, man, if you look at what the Colts did, they say we're going to protect with like 8 guys, and we're going to force. We're going to run double routes, and we're going to try to get our guys open over the middle late because we're running the ball with Jonathan Taylor. But, there wasn't a lot of, hey, we're just going to block you with 5 and be able to hold up against that pass rush. And so that puts things in your favor as a defensive ball club when teams are trying to protect you with 7 and with 8, and they're having a less amount of receivers going out. I think D'Amico could have gotten away with not blitzing as much. And not D'Amico, but Burks could have got away with not blitzing as much because the times that they were giving up explosive plays, a lot of times it was the Colts making big plays on beating the blitz. And so I just really like what I'm seeing out of what the Texans defense do. They are the number 1 defense in the league, and it's not like it is not just a stat thing. It is an eye test thing. It is a stat thing. Any way you look at it, like they had 1 sack today. Last week they had 8 sacks, but the defense was just as dominant, in my opinion, this week as it was last week. When you look at the fact that they controlled the line of scrimmage, they got after Daniel Jones did not seem comfortable all game long. So when you got a defense like that, and then when I look at the Texans offense, I see there's so much more meat on the bone. I see them making more plays out of the receiver position in between the hashes. I'm seeing Dalton Schultz making plays. I'm seeing Hutchinson making plays. I'm seeing Nico Collins making plays. I'm seeing all these things happen, and then I'm also seeing them line up and not having 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. And then I see them line up and have 8 guys on the line of scrimmage. Like those type of things that are taking explosives off of the ledger, like clean those things up. And there's more out there for you to have as an offensive ball club. So, and special teams, I thought the special teams played great today. I thought that the punt return team did an excellent job blocking. I thought the coverage teams did well. Noel probably averaged 12 to 15 yards on his punt returns. Like everything special teams wise was damn good. And then you got a little help by the refs because you missed the extra point, but you didn't miss it. So you got to love it.
Can I add to your defensive standpoint? He held the Colts to 3.7 yards per carry. Jonathan Taylor, 85 yards on 21 carries. Obviously, you know, for a lot of people, he's been a front runner for MVP. Anytime you can hold a player like that to under 100 yards, I mean, that just speaks to the tenacity and ferociousness of the defense. But a number that I want to point out, and this guy isn't a tier 1, tier 2. For a lot of people, he's hovering at tier 3. But Michael Pittman had no impact on today's game. And so I just wanted to mention that when you look at the defense, they didn't have 8 sacks, but they took away key and important guys for that Colts offense.
That's exactly the point that I was getting ready to make. The Texans held the Colts without a 100-yard receiver or a 100-yard rusher. More often than not, when you do that defensively, you're going to come out on the right side of things, especially when you talk about a guy that, a non-quarterback would have been the front runner in MVP. I think he was third behind Stafford and somebody else. Stafford and May, the quarterback up in New England. Nonetheless, it was a fantastic effort. 1 sack today. Wade mentioned pressuring Daniel Jones, making him uncomfortable. We knew Daniel Jones is dealing with that fibula, so he had some discomfort in that leg, and so he wasn't, as mobile as we have seen him in some of his past NFL lives in New York, so to speak. So, look, the Texans took care of business. They did what was necessary to do. They were physical, I thought, at the line of scrimmage. I saw EJ Speed when Azeez Al-Shire goes out the game. EJ Speed is in there running around, making good contact, and it's the subtleties. Think about it. If the Colts make an extra point on that next to last possession, they have to kick a field goal instead of going for it on 4th down. It changes the ball game. They tie it up, and then you keep playing on the road. We all know funky things can happen. So to be a champion in this league, as I understand it, you have to be able to grab hold to the opportunities that other teams give you. Belichick and Parcells would say it this way: more games are lost than won in the National Football League. Please don't mistake what I'm saying, the effort of the Texans today. But the Colts had an oopsie, and then the Texans put themselves in a position to benefit from some questionable officiating.
Yeah, we'll get into that officiating here in a little bit. We'll get into the play of C.J. Stroud as well. I did just want to point out, for the John mentioned it earlier, Jacksonville goes to the top of the AFC South now, technically at 8-4. Then it's the Colts, then it's the Texans at 7-5. Remaining schedules for the 3 teams: Texans are at Kansas City next Sunday night, home for Arizona and Vegas, at the Chargers, and then home for the Colts to finish it off. The Colts will go to Jacksonville and then to Seattle, home for San Francisco, home for Jacksonville, and at the Texans. And the Jags will go, obviously, playing the Colts next weekend at home. Then they will play the Jets at home, on the road at Denver, on the road at Indy, home for Tennessee. I got to tell you guys, looking at that, I think it's going to come down to Texans and Jags at this point. Am I wrong?
I think it's going to come down to the last game between Texans and Indy.
I do too. I agree. Yeah. Indy's in a funk right now. They've won. They've lost, 3 of their last 4?
Yep.
They're in a funk right now. But was the lead substantial enough that, to John's point, it comes down to that week 18? I think it will.
Does it matter if Houston wins the division or obviously that matters, but does the way they get in matter, considering 0-3?
Yes. I don't believe Houston can go on the road and win a playoff game. We haven't seen that in the DeMeco
even
Ryans
with
era.
Everybody.
I don't believe the Houston Texans can get on the road, especially in cold weather, a la Baltimore, a la Kansas City, 2023 and 2024. They're going to have to prove that to me. Some of y'all are going to say I'm hating. I'm just stating the fact. Now, they need to secure a damn home playoff game so we can go up in there NRG in January and go enjoy some barbecue in the press box and do all the things that we do. That's different. Then you can build some momentum going into the division round. But if they got to go on the road off the rip, and I understand your point, John, as fluid as this AFC picture is, yeah, anybody could beat anybody on any given day. But certain brands, certain styles of football translate in January and February. Wade's getting ready to tell you something similar in just a second.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I agree with what you're saying that the Texans have to prove in the playoffs that they can go on the road and get a win. But I do think with what they did today, went on the road against the number one team in the division and
number one offense in the league.
That too, like that says something about the DeMeco
No
Ryans team and what they'll be able to do in the playoffs. I look at the division right now. You look at the fact that, all three teams are within half a game of being in the playoffs. This reminds me of in years past the AFC North, where you got Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati all knocking on the door in the playoffs, and you're seeing it out of Jacksonville, the Colts, and the Texans. Who would have thought that going into the season? But when you look at the Colts schedule, you look at the Jacksonville schedule, you look at the Texans and the way they're playing, I can see all three of these teams getting into the playoffs. And if all three of the teams get into the playoffs, how they get in there doesn't necessarily matter as much to me. But I do think with the way the Texans are playing, the fact that you got, I don't look at, after what I saw today against the Colts, can they translate and do that same thing against the Chiefs next week? I don't see why not. The Chiefs offense isn't as explosive as the Colts is. Now the Colts have an explosive running back. The Chiefs have an explosive quarterback, but I'm seeing a lot of these teams that have been these name brand teams over the past few years. They don't look the same out there. They look kind of funny in the light, and that defense travels. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care what you're talking about the pass. None of that. That defense travels. Those offensive coordinators fear the Texans defense.
No question. But what has cost the Texans in the last 2 years in the playoffs? What was it? Against Baltimore and get Kansas? No, I'm saying
defense is better than last year's defense for the Texans.
But is this offense? Is this offense better than those other? That's what I'm saying. The reason I'm saying I have concern and I need them to play a home playoff game and win the division is because this offense. We got to call a spade a spade. And everybody in the comments is saying the same thing. This was not one of Nick Caley's better games. And that offense, he has one of these in January, and they'll be on a plane coming back from somewhere with an L. Go ahead, MC.
I was going to say, I see Wade's face. We'll save it for just a second. You guys will continue your discussion here on today's performance next on the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Before we get there, though, I want to remind you guys about PrizePicks. Yeah, PrizePicks. Every single day. This show, by the way, is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day. But, on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least two players' stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Squad Show continues. Michael Connor, Wade Smith, Stan Norfleet, and John Hickman with you after the Texans take down the Colts today in Indianapolis, getting to 7-5 on the season, picking up their fourth straight win, 2016 the final on this one. Obviously, we were getting into the discussion before the break on who's going to end up winning this division, how it's going to look and everything. And obviously, I saw Wade's look on his face there with what you had to say, Stan, about Nick Caley and the offense there. So, Nick Caley's game plan today. And I guess we can tie this into CJ being back as well. What did you guys make of Nick Caley and the way that he called the game today, Wade?
I thought he did fine, man. I mean, I just look at the way the game went, the fact that a lot of those play action passes, the Texans did a really good job of making plays off of the play actions, off of the boots. The amount of completions that were made on 2nd and 8s and 2nd and 9s and 2nd and 10s. Within the seams to Dalton Schultz, to Hutchinson, to Nico Collins, to the receiving core just taking turns making hay between the hashes. I like what I've seen. Earlier in the year, a lot of times guys weren't open. I'm seeing guys getting open. So the route combinations that they're using, the play action that they're using is forcing the linebackers to come up, and there's more space in between the top half and the middle of that defense. And so guys are running around open, and CJ Stroud is finding them. And you see what happened that first drive of the game. CJ Stroud did a really good job of just being very accurate with that ball, and they moved the ball down the field with relative ease. Now they got into the red zone and they shut down, but was it because of the play calling that they shut down? Because the play call when they scored later on in the game with Nico Collins, that was a good play call to go in the end around. To me, there were things that were called throughout that game where I said to myself, you know what, I ain't mad at what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at guys open. I'm looking at guys catching and running. I'm looking at CJ hitting guys in
A lot of yak
stride. I'm looking at the offensive line giving CJ time. Like some of those sacks, CJ was taking sacks because he just remember 4 weeks ago the offensive line wasn't playing like that, and you could tell he was uncomfortable with all that time he had. But he ran himself into 2 sacks, and that ran them out of position to score touchdowns when they were in the red zone. He gonna start getting used to it. He gonna start feeling like, Ohio State, where he just sat there, patted the ball, and found guys open. To me, I look at the Texans offense and I see there's a much higher ceiling on it than what we would have expected 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Every time they go out there and play, I get a little bit more confident in what I'm seeing them, because I'm seeing Davis Mills finding guys open within that offense. Now, Davis Mills is not a big-time quarterback, but for some reason, the Hutchinsons of the world and the rookies that are of the world are for the Iowa State rookies are making catches and getting first downs and converting plays. So that gives me more confidence in what they're going to do. Then you see CJ come back today, and once again, Dalton Schultz is killing them over the middle. They're finding Cade Stover catching passes. Like each game, it seems like it's about 7 or 8 guys that are catching passes and converting on third downs. That gives me more confidence in the offense. Now, the problem is that they mess around and can't get lined up properly. And that's the stuff that you can get on Nick Caley about. But then can you get on Nick Caley about that? Because I've been in those meeting rooms. As a receiver, you got to know when you're on. You got to know when you're off. That is a player thing. That is, hey, I got to know when to get lined up. That ain't got nothing to do with the coach and them calling anything right or calling it wrong. Get your ass lined up right. That part of it is so controllable and so fixable. And they gave up an explosive play on that because it just didn't get lined up right. That stuff, I just look at it and say, man, the offense keeps getting better. They ran the ball when the team that they was playing knew they needed to run the ball, and they converted and got a first down. They finished the ball with it in their hands. Those are what winning teams do on the road. To me, like I said, the defense travels. The special teams that have been struggling the last few weeks fixed all that stuff today. There was no issues with the special teams at all today. And then the offense, like I said, each week they're doing a little bit more to make me get a little bit more confidence in what they can do. They're continuing to, for some reason, they're having more time throwing the ball. They're running the ball when they need to run the ball. Despite all the extracurricular goofy stuff, like you say, like, man, come on, just there's so much more meat on the bone. So to me, I think that they do travel well. I think that they're going to continue to get better. That's what they showed me over the past month, that we're going to continue to get better week after week. And week after week, they're continuing to get better. They started slow. They lost to a bunch of teams that are playoff teams that are in the top of both conferences. They lost to those really good teams, and now they're starting to beat these quote unquote really good teams. So I can't say anything negative about Nick Caley today. I really can't, because like I said, there was too much good I saw out there for me to have anything negative to say about Nick Caley.
Stan or John?
I'm Stan, before you go, because I want to stand and take it. I'm glad you pointed out the player penalties, the bad alignments, and like you said, it took away. I think that was Jaden Higgins on the sideline, or maybe a Dalton Schultz, but it took away a 15-yard pass that could have set Houston up. So I'm glad you pointed that out. But Stan, I know you may want to respond to that. Maybe do you want to respond to that?
I understand Wade's point of view and everything that he said, and he's not wrong in anything that he said in the observation. I just want to magnify one thing. Anytime you're 2 for 5 in the red zone and you show me that you do possess the creativity Did y'all see Dalton Schultz? He comes in motion, then he pivots back out at the snap of the ball. He's the lead blocker on the Nico Collins touchdown, the Russia touchdown. That's a beautiful play design. So you've shown us you have it in your bag. Then if I know it's in there, you can't be going 2 for 5. I disagree with Wade slightly in that that's not all player driven in those specific situations. The area that I'm going to highlight the most is that 2 for 5 in the red area. I don't think the play calling is efficient and creative consistently enough in those specific moments. And it's been that way the whole season.
I think consistency is the perfect word. They had some good moments. Again, 2 of 5 in the red zone. I look at the scoring by quarter: 3 in the first, 7 in the second, 3 in the third, 7 in the fourth. So that's still inconsistent. And it's not like they're not getting down there. They got inside to the 10-yard, got inside the 15 yards a couple times. My issue from today was the 2-minute drill going into halftime. I thought that was an extreme lack of urgency from whether it was the sideline or the players, and I thought that they didn't take a good job of what was in front of them, which led to a Fail Mary, which was almost picked off. Just an overall complete bad decision. Now, I think that's a combination of Nick Haley and D'Amico Ryans there in terms of management in that 2-minute drill. They literally had 2 minutes and 2 timeout. I didn't like that, and I also didn't like when they had the turnovers on downs in the fourth quarter where they tried to 2 back-to-back caged over tush pushes. Yeah. Now, granted, to that point, it worked twice. They were 2-0 in those situations. But I think too many times we'll see C.J. Stroud get into a rhythm and it's snatched away from him. And then on that drive, I thought C.J. Stroud was excellent on that drive. As a matter of fact, when it got down to the 1-yard line, Woody Marks ran for 9 yards. But before that, look at some of the throws and what C.J. Stroud was doing. So I think when we look at the inconsistency, it is a quarter-by-quarter issue, but it's also, I think, a player-by-player issue. They get C.J. Stroud back, so obviously they didn't want to put him in too many compromising situations, but allow him to go out there and be himself. The offensive line is playing well in terms of protecting the quarterback. They're better pass blocking right now than run blocking, but you can't mismanage that 2-minute drill the way that they did in that fourth quarter turnover on downs, and we not talk about it. In other areas, like Wade mentioned, the player penalties, which I think the lining up over your tight end, I thought that was on the players. You got to fault the players for that. It was just an inconsistent game offensively from the Texans, and they were able to kind of squeeze it out at the end, thanks to the defense.
Is this a good time, MC? I'll let you drive it. Is this a good time? We're going to talk about that extra point?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's talk about that in the officials. I'll get to the break real quick, and we'll do that here in a brief second on the Locked On Texans Squad Show. Right now, though, I want to tell you guys about Game Time. Yeah, that's right. World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving all the fans, a real advantage when it comes to snagging results. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You can pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through the matchups and compare seat views, pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting, no hunting for that fine print, I should say. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go with Game Time. Michael Connor, Wade Smith, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman. I was about to call him John Smith. I'm mixing up John and Wade here. I don't know why. Sorry, guys.
We're in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. It is. I'm still in my food coma. I've been eating so much leftovers. We finished them last night, but I still got some pie left that I got to go eat. Maybe I'll celebrate the Texans' victory with a little bit of pie and cheesecake or whatever we've got left in the fridge after this one. But a day for the Texans today, 20-16, the final. We've talked a lot about, the offense, the defense. Now let's talk a little bit about the referees and kicking and all those special things that went on in the football game today. All right. There's gonna be a lot of controversy. I guess there's a lot of controversy in Indianapolis. How much run do you think is this gonna get? What went on out there with the officials today, guys? Because they missed some calls. Stan, you mentioned it. They even missed the extra point. It looked like they called it good.
I couldn't believe it.
What did you think, Stan, of what the officials did today?
Well, I thought obviously it was egregious that they missed the extra point, but I thought, and it benefited the Texans, which never happens, it seems like. But wait, the Jonathan Taylor third down run, the hands in the face mask, they missed that. That would have been an automatic first down, right? They also missed. We talked about the missed extra point by the Indianapolis Colts. The officiating today, there was also Kamar Lassiter absolutely was pass interference, and they let it rock. I think they still ended up getting the rough of the passer, but on Daniel Jones. But it was Kamar Lassiter absolutely interfered. The Texans were fortunate today. What's the other one?
Talking about on the other side of the ball, the Texans got a call on a PI.
The Hutchinson.
On the PI.
Hutchinson, when he said he grabbed him, there wasn't nothing there. So listen, there was a lot of calls where I said, oh, okay. I guess, regression to the mean, because normally it goes the opposite way for the Texans, especially on the road. And so a lot of those calls that were borderline or were blatantly you would have thought should have went against the Texans, they did not. They went in our favor. And you look at J.J. Watt was on the call. There was multiple times J.J. was kind of like, man, that looked like to me was fake mask. So dang, I didn't see much of a pass interference there, but it is what it is. Hey, you got to take the good when you get them. And the football guys were in our favors today for the Houston Texans for them to, because those were big plays. And Colts fans can be mad, but your kicker missed the extra point. Like that was not ref driven. That was player. Hey, do your job, kick the ball between the uprights. I don't know if y'all guys know this, but me and kickers, I'm not the best of friends with kickers over my career.
I like it when they saved my butt. Other than that,
who'd you have? You had what? Was it Neil Rackers? Was your kicker here?
At one point, I just tell you this: in 2012, I can't even remember who the kicker's name was. Honestly, maybe because I block it out. But
Graham.
We played 2 back-to-back 5-quarter games. And I did those with broken ribs. In the first quarter, that game when Andre Johnson scored a touchdown on the screen, they took it about 80 yards to the house or whatever against Jacksonville in 2012. That game, we won it in the 5th quarter. It was probably like a minute or so left in that game. We won the game because we missed 2 field goals in regulation and in overtime that would have won the game already. And then the next week, we won the game, late in the ball because we're missing field goals. So me and field goal kickers don't necessarily get along the best. 2013, that brings back bad memories with Randy. I can't even think of his name. Randy Wall or Randy, whatever it is.
Randy Bullock.
Randy Bullock, yeah. Randy, like he was missing field goals. And
we just call him Fat Randy.
Hey, dog, like it is what it is. I was fat back then too, but he was fat like we was fat, and normally kickers ain't fat like we fat. So me and kickers don't necessarily get along the best. Your kicker, Indianapolis Colts fan, missed the damn extra point, and it hit the upright. There was no, borderline call. At least Kaimi's kick was over the upright and was a little bit to the right or a little to the left. It looked outside, but hey, maybe we don't have the same camera view that the refs got. They could have overturned that from New York, right? Wrong.
Did you hear the Sterator said you can't review it if it goes over the upright like that.
So then it's a judgment.
Like if it goes over the top.
It's a judgment call at that point. Yeah,
is what it is.
Now, listen, we're going to hear a report. These officials are going to have to. The NFL is going to have to issue a statement on what's going on. So we'll see that come out probably tomorrow. If somebody may have it, DJ Bieniemy, somebody may have it already. I haven't scrolled through social to see it, but they will be asked about those specific plays that we're talking about, and they absolutely impacted this game. At the end of the day, though, the Indianapolis Colts, the Texans defense was better than their offense, and that's why they lost the game. I was actually surprised that the Indy defense played as well as they did. I thought the Texans had potential to put some more points up on the board, and they did. We talked about the 2 or 5 in the red zone. So it was really, best on best, and the Texans defense was better than the number 1 offense in the league.
And you know what was impressive? Houston's margin, the gap between the time of possession.
It's almost 10 minutes.
Houston. Yeah, almost 10 minutes. They had 3 drives or 12 or more plays. That's where you can look at the addition to C.J. Stroud and what you like or maybe what you don't like, but in favor of Nick Caley. I think that's where the small details of winning today, because if you don't give Jonathan Taylor time to be out there on the field, then you limit his impact on the game. So I do want to shout out the Houston Texans offense for being able to sustain drives long enough to keep some of the more spectacular players in the NFL off the field.
And it's not just the time of possession. The Texans ran 20 more plays.
Yeah.
You get 20 more cracks in an offensive game, in an offensive league, that should yield more positive results than not. So I thought it was the number of plays run in conjunction with the time of possession.
2 things. The first thing, and look this up while I mentioned the second thing, but what was the 3rd down conversion rate for the Texans this game? Look that up.
I think they were 6 of 13.
6 of 13.
You can
Indy was 3 of 10.
You can win if you have that type of margin where you 6 of 13 and the team you're playing against is 3 for 10. And more likelihood you're going to win the game. And then there was a call or 2 that went against the Texans as well. That spot on the first 3rd and 1 that Case Stovers got, I thought that was a first down. The second one, I thought the spot was perfect, when they end up turning it over late in the game in the 4th quarter. Case Stover on the quarterback sneak, he got the initial push on 3rd and 1, and then he fell forward. I thought that play should have been a first down. The ref, you see it at the top of the screen, was past the first down line, and then as he came in, he started backing up, and they never showed the replay of where he actually got to, but it looked live that he got the first down on 3rd down. Then on 4th down, they tried the same play and they didn't get it, and I thought they spotted that exactly right, even though he was short. But there was a call that I thought went against the Texans, where the Texans would have had the ball and they would have scored on that drive, and then we wouldn't be talking about the extra point, because they would have went up 23-16, or they would have scored a touchdown. It would have been 27 to 16, and so the game would have been out of reach. So the Texans got a lot of calls, but they didn't get all the calls.
And one thing I did want to ask you guys, you mentioned the kicking, and y'all briefly went over it earlier. I think, John, you brought it up with the end of the first half drive and how it was very lackadaisical. What you have Kaimi Fairbairn, who's been unbelievable. He's got a career long. I know he's had a leg injury this year, but he's got a career long of 61. Why not try the 65-yard field goal with Kaimi Fairbairn there?
That's just mismanagement.
I'm gonna be honest,
especially indoors.
You talked about the clock management, and to an extent I agree with that, and to an extent I don't. And the extent that I don't agree with that was early on in that drive, they were taking their time to make sure that the Colts didn't get another time touching the ball going into the half. So I understand them slow playing to start off with, but once they got that first down, they should have turned it on and started playing faster, and they didn't. So that was the point that was the part that I was disappointed in. But they threw the pass to Jaden Higgins. He catches the ball. If he goes north and south, he gets a first down.
Yeah,
he gets the first down by like 2 or 3 yards. Instead, he tries to go sideline to sideline. You're a big guy, Jaden Higgins. You listen. You get north and south, you're gonna fall forward and get the first down. Yeah. Know yourself. Get the first down, and then now the Texans can continue to get closer so that you can get a field goal. But because he ran sideways and was 2 yards short, now do you want to stress out Kaimi Fairbairn's whatever he has going on with his lower body, trying to make a hero kick? To me, they went into that game, and this is what the coaches do before the game. They say, hey, what's our range today? What's Kaimi's range today? Is it 57? Is it 52? Is it 60? What is the range? They were out of range, and so that's why they said just throw it up, because they wasn't going to stretch them trying to get there. But it wouldn't have come to that if Jaden Higgins just catches the ball and gets north and south, because he for sure would have got a first down. I was so disappointed in that because I was like, damn, his whole body makeup, his whole demeanor is catch the ball, get up the field north and south. It was weird. He turned into like Christian Kirk or Jalen Noel or somebody like trying to run side to side. I mean, just get up the field and get the first down. So
I felt that way.
Like I said, John, I agree with you, John. They started off slow, but I thought that was with good reason. But then once they converted and got their first down, now you got to pick it up and play faster, and they didn't do that, and it ends up catching them at the end.
I felt how you feel about the Higgins play is surprisingly, and it wasn't an issue. I believe the Texans still scored a touchdown on that drive. Nico Collins, stay in bounds, Nico. Go and get in the end zone, man. That leg going out of bounds cost the chance to get another touchdown.
You know what? That was so scary because it felt like they got down to the 5, but with they MO, they was gonna walk away with 3. You don't know if they're gonna score a touchdown or not. So
it was odd for me because Nico, to be an excellent receiver, you can't just be great with your hands and foot speed. It's also awareness, spatial awareness, and where you are on the field, body control, and all those types of things. So it was just bizarre to see Nico, who always demonstrates excellent body control and spatial awareness, on that particular play. He couldn't get his feet together. So it's just one of those plays that you were explaining the Higgins catch. It just stood out in my mind.
Just one of those days where, the little things here and there, they typically can bite you in the butt, but they didn't bite the Texans in the butt in certain areas, and they found their way to a victory. Did you want to say anything else real quick, Stan? Because, every week we got to do our typical check-in with you. You got anything to say about Jaden Higgins today?
Yeah, how you feel about the rookie?
Yeah, how you feeling?
No, didn't have a catch. Higgins was
good
second
on special
receiver today.
No, it was good on special teams.
I don't have a problem with that. He showed up in the kicking game. I don't have a problem with that. Well, let me check in. Jaden Higgins, 5 for 65. I'll take that.
On 5 targets.
I'll take that. Yeah, he definitely can be a contributor. Anybody see Christian Kirk today?
He had a catch, didn't he, that got called back for pass interference?
I ain't see him. Out there at all.
He made one catch. Didn't count.
He need to donate this game check back to the McNairs. What the hell going on with Christian Kirk? Man is invincible for multiple games.
Schultz. How many? What did Schultz have today? He seemed like he was catching everything over there.
7 for 75, 8 targets, 7 catches, 55 yards.
Yeah, those are Christian Kirk's catches right there. A lot of those balls was in between the hashes on third down. Like
absolutely.
I like the fact that they're utilizing guys like Higgins, Schultz in between the hashes, bigger targets, bigger bodies that can fall forward and get your first downs. Christian Kirk, he's a smaller guy and he's not as shifty as he used to be. So he's not, I think he's just continuing to fall down the pecking order of guys that you're looking to try to convert and get first downs. And as long as you got other guys stepping up in that role, you can't be, you're not mad at it. I don't care who makes the play, just somebody make the play. But Christian Kirk he's not been what he was advertised to be when they signed him. As of yet, hopefully he can get it together over the next few weeks so that he can be more of a contributor to the Texans offense. But like I said, if they're choosing other guys that are making similar catches that he would make, you can't be mad at him because those guys are making those plays.
I want to highlight one series if I could. MC, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I thought what was a sneaky, low-key, impactful game. Let's come back. It's a minute 45. Texans are up 4 points. The Colts have all 3 timeouts. The first play they run is a 1-yard run by Woody Marks. Colts call their first timeout. The second down 9-yard run by Woody Marks changed the whole dynamic. Yeah. And I was like, if the offensive line doesn't give not just Woody those 9 yards, but the ability to run down that clock and make them call their second timeout, there was a point in this game where the Colts could have got that ball back with about a minute to go and needed a touchdown to go ahead. I thought that was a sneaky, critical point in the game. Nick Caley dialed up the right run plays, and Woody Marks finished it off. And we got to remember, Woody leaves the game, goes to the locker room, comes back, and has a nice, productive second half.
I think your boy Christian Kirk had a nice block on the outside on that play, too, that Woody Marks run.
Did he?
Hey.
Yeah, I think he did.
He did.
$20
He blocked
million
he blocked
block?
number
Hey.
23. Number 23 for the Colts got hemmed up. I saw that. That
$20 million a block?
I don't mean to nitpick here, but there were 2 Woody Marks runs. His first long run of the game, where he breaks down and it feels like he's trying to take the defender whatever way. Brother, if you just stay left, you may still be running back to Houston right now. So it's a young running back thing.
All you
And I
gotta
think he
do
did
is
it
stay
again
left.
on another run in the game as well. But don't try to do too many moves. Pick a move and get upfield. But I thought that he had some good carries for Houston to help them win today's game.
Yep, he did. And they, right back in it in the AFC side. We've done this entire show basically and not broken down anything that CJ Stroud did today. We've mentioned it briefly, but the quarterback was back today, and we'll talk about him as we wrap up the show and, of course, take a little look ahead to next week as well here on the Locked on Texans Squad Show. Texan Squad Show rolls on here. Michael Connor and Stan Norfleet, Wade Smith, and John Hickman. We're with you for a few more minutes breaking down the Texans' win over the Indianapolis Colts. The Texans, I should say, play the Kansas City Chiefs next weekend. That will be Sunday Night Football, so we'll be with you late Sunday night next weekend. Can they finally get that? They got over. I know that they did it against Baltimore without Lamar Jackson, but they finally got they finally got the Baltimore Ravens win earlier this year.
Doesn't count.
And it still kind of counts.
They
won. I mean, they won. I know that it doesn't count for who they beat, but they still won. Can they do it next weekend? That's going to be a huge question. But before we get to a little bit of next weekend, CJ Stroud today, guys, is back. Obviously, there's a few signs of rust here and there, but I thought it was pretty obvious. You get the backup quarterback's always the most popular person in the world until they play a lot and they lose. But Davis Mills didn't lose. He played, he played well enough for the Texans to win 3 straight games. There wasn't a lot of people out there, but there's some people out there saying some just dumb things. I thought you saw it pretty early on, the differences between the two players. But what did you guys make of the return of CJ Stroud today and how he looked? John?
I'm just counting the numbers up right now, but I'm looking at the passes that went for 10 or more yards. Already I'm at 10. So that's the difference. And I'm still counting, it looks like. That was a difference for me from the Texans today from a quarterback perspective. They were able to, at times, push the ball downfield, and you're seeing passes of 20, 21, 18, 19. So, obviously, in that second half, we discussed it. It felt like the second half of the game against Buffalo really was more so of just Davis, don't push it, don't put us in any bad situations, don't back us into a corner. But for CJ, who he had that weird interception, I thought that was just his way of trying to get himself going. You would like to see him take that shot with a little bit more favorable situation. He did have a jump ball to Nico. He didn't come down with it, but that's one of those 50-50 balls.
I thought Nico mistimed his jump on that one.
I thought so as well. I thought he was in great position to come down with it.
He would have won. He would have won that matchup if he timed it up
that
right.
Box out. But yeah, 10 plays of 10 or more passing yards. That's the story for the quarterback today. Made plays, had time to make plays, and when he had the time, he made them.
CJ had 4 bad plays in this game that I could think of off the top of my head. The interception he threw, the pass where he threw past the line of scrimmage where it was a boot play and he could have ran for about 6 or 7 yards and got out of bounds. Instead, he throws the ball 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, that penalty, and then he ran himself into 2 sacks. Besides that, I thought he was on point. He was very accurate. The offensive line gave him time. You could see him hitting guys in stride. You could see him placing. He's a ball placement specialist, and you saw that today. You saw the difference between him and Davis Mills when they're in the game. Guys were open. I thought that they did a good job of calling plays and running routes and getting guys open. I thought he did a good job of beating the blitz. There was a pass to Nico Collins that he hit where he had a blitz coming right in his face, and he throws it in the left seam, and Nico catches it and breaks a tackle and gets up the field. They did a good job of getting their big receivers the ball in space and let them break tackles and fall forward for first downs. He found Dalton Schultz multiple times. I just thought that CJ Stroud did a good job of calling the game and understanding that they were not running the ball well on first down. They just weren't. So there was plenty of times when it was 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 that CJ was converting. That's the type of stuff that you get when CJ Stroud is your quarterback and you give him time to operate. So, like I said, he had those 4 bad plays. Besides that, I thought he played pretty well, and he's going to get better. There was some rust things. I think CJ could have noticed, hey, get on the ball. You know, those are the type of things that he could have looked over there and looked, hey, you need to be on the ball. Those type of things he could have helped his guys out. Once he gets more comfortable back in that role, because like I said, he was, you know, he's been out for a few weeks. He was out with a concussion. So he wasn't out with like an ankle injury or something like that. He was out with something that had to do with his head. So, you know, he's working through getting through those cobwebs as well. So I just thought he had a damn good performance, and take those 4 plays away, and you would have said it was an excellent day at the office for CJ Stroud.
I'm going to concur with everything that you gentlemen have said. I thought CJ was solid. I didn't think he was spectacular, but you don't need to be that every single week. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to rely on your defense, the special teams, and if you're able to run the football, and sometimes you got to dink and dunk your way to a victory. So CJ did exactly what was asked of him today, outside of the handful of snaps that Wade just mentioned. My only one, and I don't know if this is CJ or if this is Nick Caley, we got to get Woody Marks more involved as a receiver. Just one catch for 3 yards for Woody Marks. He is too explosive, and you got to take advantage of his versatility, especially when teams are heating you up. Now, I thought Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Colts, I thought he would send more pressure. It seemed like he felt that they needed to play more coverage, and they were going to just try and get home with 4. My thought is, okay, you leave Woody Marks in there if you're trying to go, for pass protection purposes per se. But, man, you designate the ball to get in his hands and allow him to do something with it. So I don't know if that's a CJ sight thing. I don't know if CJ, audible out of those plays, but that's just something I would like to see Caley and CJ get on the same page about getting Woody Marks the ball as a receiver.
Yeah, I would co-sign that. As far as Nick Caley, to me, that would be more likely a Nick Caley type thing of like, hey, let's figure out some plays to make sure we get Woody Marks his hands on the ball. Because like you said, he's an explosive weapon out of the backfield. He's an explosive weapon. If you line him up in the slot, line him up wide. Just get him the ball.
Screen game.
Let him go to work.
Yeah.
Screen game. Like, I didn't really see any of that. So to me, that is a Caley thing. But that is, like I said, you say that, and that just gives me more confidence. Like, damn, they didn't even use Woody Marks like that. But there were so many other guys that made critical catches, that made consistent catches where they were just moving the ball methodically down the field. To me, I think the offense, the ceiling is high on for them. And if the offensive line continues to play solid across the front to where they're protecting CJ is such an accurate quarterback that those receivers are gonna have opportunities to make a lot of plays as the season goes on.
110 yak yards for Houston today. So we mentioned you see the difference in between Davis Mills and CJ Stroud. And I don't think Davis Mills had too many of these moments, but there were times where it felt like the pass may have been behind the receiver and the receiver had to stop to make a play or whatever. A lot of these guys were able to catch the ball in stride while running. So, they got things to clean up on. Stan, I'm glad you mentioned Woody Marks not being involved in the passing game deliberately. Because he's a factor there, and I've said it since day one. If you rely on Marks to just be a runner, you're selling yourself short.
You drafted him to do both. Yeah. You
drafted him to do both. You're kind of hindering the dynamic that he can bring to a team. No, and he's not a traditionally 4.5 yards, 5 yards per pop player for Houston. But where you see his real impact on games this year, maybe 4.1 yards per carry, but he's also 8.9 or 9.7 yards per catch. So I think that's a good point to bring up that they have to focus on moving forward. But I really like Houston's wide receivers or pass catchers just getting the ball in space and getting upfield. Out of the 276 passing yards, 110 came from yak yards.
Can I say one other thing since we're here? And I know we got to get out of here, MC. And y'all, the 3 of y'all might get upset with me. I'm going to tell you what I saw the last 3 weeks. And I get it. Brother, just his first game back. The offense looked better to me when Davis Mills was under center the last 3 weeks than it looked today with CJ Stroud. Different opponent, I understand. No one's saying Davis is better than CJ. I'm just saying offensively, it looked more functional to me with Davis.
I don't know. I mean, I felt like it was pretty functional today. I don't know. I feel like they moved the ball a lot. I think it's the same theme that we've had all season with this football team. In every single game, win or loss that we talk about, they left points on the field. It hasn't mattered who the quarterback is.
Fair point.
I guess you could say that the offense was more talented this week than they have been in weeks in past, but they were less disciplined. There was guys lining up improperly, that type of stuff. Like there was, we had some holding penalties and stuff like that. And holding, that's just part of the game. But I guess that's where you're going with it, Stan. Like there were plays, there were throws that Davis wouldn't have made that CJ made today.
Oh, for sure. No question.
So that's
I'm just
the
saying
talent part of it. But as far as just how it functioned and how it looked, maybe it looked a little bit cleaner with Davis Mills as a quarterback. I can't disagree with that.
Allow me to expound on this point. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you had 7 players catch a pass today. 2 of those, Marks and Noel. I'm sorry, you had 6 players catch a pass today. Woody Marks only had 1 ball. So that means you only had 5 players that caught 2 or more passes, multiple receptions. With Davis, it was 7, 8, 9 dudes. So I thought the ball was spread around more over those 3 games that Davis was in there. Maybe that's something we talked about targeting Woody Marks more. Maybe that's something going into next week, an important game at Kansas City, that Kaylee will remind CJ, hey, man, you had, Stover over here. You could have just dumped the ball down, take the 3 yards, make it easy on the offense, keep the chains moving type of thing. I feel like Davis got more people involved, and maybe that's why I'm saying it looked more functional under Davis than it did this first game back for CJ.
I will say this. We asked for them to get Nico Collins involved. Nico Collins was involved today. 10 targets, 5 receptions, 98 yards. I thought that was a big thing today. All right, guys, since we're running out of time, Wade's got to go find out where his daughters are playing in the NCAA tournament.
Nice.
Parting shots. You guys go ahead, Wade, since you got to get rolling. We'll let you start us off.
It was a big win for the Texans. That's straight up and down a big win for the Texans. They put themselves in position to be in the conversation for winning the division. You got a big game coming up next week against Kansas City. Let's see if they could put some of Stan's concerns to rest by going on the road and getting a big win against a team that is considered one of the blue blood franchises in the NFL. One of the guys that are always there at the end, and it actually could put a nail in the coffin for the Kansas City Chiefs for this season. It's a huge game coming up for both teams for multiple reasons, but wouldn't it feel good to be able to just put KC to rest like week 11? What week is it now? Week 11, 13, week 13. Can they be done by week 13, week 14? That would be a beautiful thing. But big win by the Texans. Good to see CJ Stroud to get back out there. Good to see him finish the game healthy. Good to see that overall, I thought the Texans finished the game healthy. And with that being said, you're going to need all your bullets in your chamber when you got to go in Kansas City on the road to get a W. So, good job by the Texans today. Shout out to the Miko Ryans and that coaching staff. I thought they put together a good game plan and figure out a way to win on the road. And that is not easy to do, especially in that building. It's just not an easy thing to do, to go up there and get a W, and they're able to do that. And they didn't play their best ball game to do it. To me, a lot of times I have more respect for that you can learn more from a situation like that than if you just play out of this world and win a game that way. I think they figured out a way to win on the road, and that's important when you talk about trying to go far in the playoffs.
All right. John?
We'll see. I remember Angels in the outfield. Y'all remember that? When they were in the crowd? All right. Okay. Texans in the outfield right now. 4 wins in a row. Started off 0-3. We talked about some of the help that they got from the referees. I'm going to call it the football gods help. And so it's just good to see this team fight back. I love seeing teams fight back. And Houston has been, for the most part, especially since they started the year off, somewhat of underdogs. But my parting shot for Houston, 5 of 12 in the red zone the last 3 games. I just want to see the offense help their defense out. That's it. Will they be able to do it against KC? We'll see. Indy has some of the best red zone defense in the league. So you take that for what it's worth. But functionality-wise, just having a plan when they get down there is what this Houston Texan team needs. And sometimes it shows that they have it. Other times, I walk away scratching my head. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell was Katie thinking? So I just want to see them get better as we are, believing that the Texans will make this playoffs and make the AFC, make the AFC South Division champ 3 years in a row.
Excuse me. Parting shot for me, we spent a lot of time today with the offense, going into some details. Defensively, again, and I know they came into this game, technically they were number 2 in points allowed defense. I'm guessing after this game, especially with the Rams getting beat on the road at Carolina today, I think this defense will go back to being number 1 in points allowed. I would just say the Texans got away with one today. They created their own fortune. Think about it. They only had 1 sack and they didn't take the ball away at all. So that just speaks to welcome back, Jalen Petrie. We didn't call Stingley's name, but maybe one time a PBU late in the fourth quarter.
Didn't need to.
I mean, it was just, quite frankly, it was just an excellent effort by the defense. But I'm going to maintain a healthy expectation that those edge defenders, and they were impactful. You're not always going to get, 2-3 sacks a game. I think Sheldon Rankins got the only sack today. But those edge guys, the Texans have to take the ball away and put the opponent quarterback on his back. And they didn't do that enough today, although they did play well enough to win, if you understand that distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the prettiest of football games, that is for sure today. But you know what? At the end of the day,
but it's a dub.
It's a
It
W.
ain't always pretty. Yeah. Sometimes you go out and it's been a little minute. It is not always pretty. You just got to get you enough of these parting shots in you, right? And when you get enough, that courage get to going. You may not get that pretty 10, but sometimes 4 and 5s can get you to where you need to be. I didn't say a name. I didn't put anything out there, but my guys know what I'm talking about. For the Houston Texans, 4 games in a row, it ain't been pretty, but they are getting it done.
7 of the last 9.
Pretty good. I've had shots 4 weeks in a row now, and I'm feeling pretty good. If they give me 5 shots in a row, full on Homer Michael's coming back to you guys.
And we need Homer Mike. We need Homer MC. But if we can get one more shot from the Texans, I think that we'll be able to loosen up Stan a little bit. And maybe, because they always talk about it in the comments, he always roots against Texans. Maybe we'll get Stan and start.
I'm not picking the Texans to go to win at Kansas City next week on Sunday Night Football. No. No, I'm not picking it. But let me see the injury report this week. We'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out. What we will do is we'll talk about it more Tuesday night. We'll get you ready for that. We'll talk about anything that's come up between now and then. Of course, John, Stan, and I will be here with you at 6 o'clock Tuesday evening. So make sure you're here for that when it's live. Hit subscribe on this YouTube channel. Make sure that you're listening to John with the daily Locked On Texans podcast as well. We appreciate you stopping by, listening, whether you were live or later on. We'll talk to you Tuesday ahead of Texans Chiefs on the Locked On Texans Squad show.